Yes, Ananya.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Ananya KS, on behalf of Legal Design Media and Insight, invite you all to the webinar on digital and mobile forensics. With the era of modernization, people are modernizing, so is their ways to commit various crimes. One such type of crime is digital and cybercrime, which is increasing day by day. And this is where digital forensics plays an important role. Digital forensics is the process of preservation, identification, extraction, and documentation of computer evidences that can be used by the court of law. It is the science of finding evidences from digital media like computer, mobile phones, servers, or networks. It provides the forensic team with the best techniques and tools to solve complicated digital related cases. Digital forensics helps the forensic team to analyze, inspect, and identify and preserve the digital evidences residing on various types of electronic devices. This webinar directs towards the main issues as well as future strategies of the digital forensic research, technology, and innovation in the criminal investigation. It provides a stage to gain new data, which will be valuable for the growth in the field of generating new plans and ideas to enhance yourself and your expert profession. On this note, I would like to invite Mr. Anush Kumar, founder and editor in chief of Legal Design Media and Insight, to introduce this webinar to our audience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ananya, for the introduction of the seminar. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are doing great and safe at home during this lockdown. Welcome to today's session of this is a part of our knowledge series of Legal Desire. As we know, the continuous evolution of mobile phone technologies allows the commercialization of new mobile phone, then which creates new digital investigations problem. The role of mobile phone in crime had long been recognized by law also in India also at a global stake. So with the increased availability of such devices on the consumer market, on the wider array of communication platform, like they support example emails, web browsing, demand for forensic examination grew. Furthermore, mobile devices are able to contain plenty of digital information, almost like a computer. So not only a call log or SMS message or our old mobile phones. So many of the digital information in a smartphone is reliant on applications installed on it and which evolve in a such way that analysis software are not able to support them completely. The mobile forensic, as Ananya has also introduced, that it is a process. It aims to recover digital evidence or relevant data from a mobile device in a way that will preserve the evidence in a forensically sound orientation condition. To discuss mobile forensic, which is a part of digital forensic, we present you this session. We are pleased to have Ms. Anjana Kumba, who is a scientific officer at Cyber Division of Telangana State FSL. Over to my colleague Ananya to start the session.
We are pleased to have Ms. Anjana Kumba with us. Ms. Anjana is a forensic expert and scientific officer at Telangana State Science Laboratory, Hyderabad. She has completed her master's PGD in forensic law and IPR from the University of Hyderabad. She is a certified digital forensic examiner and Access Data accredited investigator. She has received training from Digital Intelligence USA and also received training from EC Council, CBI Academy Ghaziabad, LNJN, NICFS New Delhi, etc. She worked at HSSP for 1 year and also worked as HOD at SCWD and PG College, Kakatiya University for 5 years. Presently, she is working as scientific officer at Telangana State Forensic Science Laboratory, Hyderabad for the last 8 years. She is a resource person at UGC TOD member for capacity building of women managers, Telangana State Police Academy, Judicial Academy, CDPS Hyderabad. She has conducted, organized different national and state level conferences, seminars, and symposiums, presented total number of 18 papers of different topics like digital evidences, gender studies, higher education, management, etc., at international, national, and state level. She has contributed to police manuals and participated in several accreditation programs through NAAC, NABL, reported more than 500 cases related to cybercrime and cyber and examined different evidences and also worked in forensic toxicology, serology, and DNA. Thank you, ma'am, and over to you.
Thank you. At the onset, I would like to appreciate Legal Desire Media, uh, Department of Forensic Science and Criminal Investigations, Mr. Anuj Kumar, Mahipal Singh, and Ananya for this knowledge series and the sessions that you are carrying on. And today's topic of discussion is digital and mobile forensics. And at the onset, I would emphasize on the importance of the criminal justice system and the place of the digital evidences and the cybercrime related evidences that we examine every day, and highlight on the Lyotard's principle, which says that every contact leaves a trace, where it is rightly applied even to the cybercrime, that is the digital evidence as well. Now, coming to the definition of cybercrime,
There is a technical issue at ma'am's end. She'll be joining shortly. Please stay tuned.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
yes, thank you, Anuj. It looks like there's some network issue, nevertheless. We were starting with the definition of cybercrime, and cybercrime, as it is used to denote all those objectionable activities which are the result of use of the computer either as an instrumentality, target, or by means of perpetrating further crime. And the different type of cybercrimes that we encounter every day is, let's start from the basic, that is, we see a lot of extortion cases and ransomware, malware related cases, wherein we have virus or trojan or even keyloggers, and false data entry and skimming is, and trapdoors related cases, data leakage, piracy, cyber terrorism, pornography, that's child pornography, source code theft, and source of and theft of the trade secrets, e-wallet related frauds, camouflage, and the sale of illegal articles like narcotics, weapons, wildlife, salami techniques, and etc. The type of crimes is ever increasing as we categorize them, and I have shown some of them. which are very rampant in the present era. Well, we have the IT Act, which helps us in understanding and the importance of IT Act after the amendment, that is 2008, has helped us to understand the exact punishments or different aspects of the IT Act, which help and tell us what kind of digital evidence fit in and how it is brought to the court of law. Like some of them I have just jotted down here, which is more to say with the 65, from 65 to 68 here on the slide, and we have 69 to 78 of the IT Act, which I have shown, which help us to understand the powers that are executed and that the IT Act gives to us, and how to deal with the cyber crimes in particular. Now, coming to the actual topic for today, that is the digital forensics, which could be said as the use of scientifically derived and proven methods towards the preservation, collection, validation, identification, analysis, interpretation, documentation, and presenting of the digital evidence derived from digital sources for the purpose of facilitating or furthering the reconstruction of the events found to be criminal, or helping to anticipate unauthorized action shown to be disruptive or planned operations. So it is a collection of processes, a set of processes which helps us altogether a broad perspective, which is the digital forensics, where it is the proper systematic and stepwise procedure of identifying, preserving, collecting, and validating at different steps, and then analyzing and documenting and the proper procedure, and finally presenting it to the court of law. So all this comes under the digital forensics. Now, if we have to put it in a type, we have to discuss with the different classifications or variety of forensics. The digital forensics as such is so broad. It can be further subdivided into disk forensics, network forensics, database forensics, mobile forensics, OS forensics, then malware forensics, the memory forensics, email forensics, and cloud forensics, which are broadly classified. And for the, as per the topic for today is the in general the disk forensics and the mobile forensics at the top that we're going to discuss in detail. And the different type of storage media that we see today that are involved in the cybercrime are a variety of storage devices that are connected, some of them starting with the simple laptops, computers, hard drives, to the mobile phones, memory cards, and variety of the disk, the tapes, and the solid state drives and some optical drives. And it is continuing with the latest advancements of the devices that we use, that we receive, some of the handheld devices, or even the, let us say, the Internet of Things that we encounter every day. All this are the potential possibilities of finding digital evidences at and are encountered in many of crime scenes. Now, if we, it is about the procedure of the digital forensics and the SOPs that we follow it at all the crime scene and at the forensic lab. And the procedures are identification and determination, which is the first method wherein we identify what is the potential evidence or the material object at the crime scene, and determine whether it is and how it is related to the crime. And then comes our acquisition and extraction, wherein after identifying and determining the evidence or the material object, we then go in for the acquisition process and imaging, that is nothing but the imaging process, and make a copy or make a duplicate of the original evidence and do the extraction. And extraction, that is a preliminary step that we understand and extract the data. Then preservation and packing is next carried out. After how do we handle these digital evidences and different methods that are adopted to preserve the very fragile nature of the material objects and the way it is to be packed and sent to the lab. And further, we understand the recovery and analysis, which takes in depth at the analysis stage, wherein the recovery and different locations where the data is present is analyzed. And then after the possible relevant data recovered and analyzed, we have to document it and report it and present it to the court of law, which forms the schematic representation of the slide explaining the procedure involved in the digital forensics. And first and foremost is the search and seizure, wherein the potential material object or the crime scene, the electronic crime scene, need to be analyzed, that is identified first, and it is to be determined. So we find many a different material objects at the crime scene. Say, for example, could be a computer, mobile phone, or the CCTV, the DVRs, the dongles, and the digital cameras attached to them, the modems, the possible connections with the network, and the biometric systems that are associated with the scene of crime, the servers, and the other digital storage media, different secondary storage media that are associated, need to be thoroughly verified at the scene of crime. And then a proper systematic seizure procedure to be applied after identifying and determining the material objects. And comes our next step, which is the acquisition or the imaging. Now, why acquisition is a very important topic that today I would be discussing, and it is about the first principle of the forensics, or per se the digital forensics here, which is the chain of custody. The acquisition is, or the imaging is, the first step that we ensure to maintain the original evidence intact. That is, the thumb rule says never work with the digital original evidence. So to prevent any alterations or any kind of tampering to the original media or original evidence, it is always that step of acquisition to be maintained, to be performed, to maintain the integrity of the evidence. And the fragile nature of the digital evidence makes it more susceptible to
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So we were on the step of acquisition, that is making images of the original evidence at the crime scene. So the fragile nature of the digital evidence makes it more susceptible for any changes during investigation, and so is there is always possibility for the inadmissibility, and so the acquisition step plays a very important role. So we have different tools for acquisition, and we have different validation hash calculators as well. So the different tools, some of them I put on this slide for you. That is Tableau Imager, Forensic Falcon, Dossier, Atula Task Force, and these are the very commonly used tools which are available, and then the verification step that involves for the validation of the image through verifying the hash value that is generated, which is the digital fingerprint of the particular digital evidence, which ensures us the chain of custody, and also it is authenticates the validity of the tools that are being used in this process of acquisition. So the Tableau Imager, which is a forensic bridge, and there are different images, both hardware as well as softwares. And right now you can see the write blocks, which are our prerequisite for the connecting with the evidences, which helps us in the process of acquisitions. And also there are software and hardware write blocks available. Some of them are Tableau, and which you can see on the slide, which when connected, and also different varieties of hardware write blockers are available, which enable us to connect through USB or even SATA or IDE connectors, and so that we can connect our digital evidence or material objects to the write block. At the crime scene, it also is very important to understand that the handling of the crime scene and protecting it, and sometimes even when the process are in running conditions or live analysis, and the instant response plays a very important role, especially with the digital evidence. Whenever we have a scenario of running process and the network connections are enabled, one must always ensure with the proper photographing and videographing of the incident or at the crime scene, and also assess whether any kind of remote access is available to the connections, and verify with the users possible. And these kind of instant responses, especially when we are looking at a crime scene on a larger scale, wherein the verification of all this and the analysis and sometimes acquisitions remotely are quite possible in many scenarios. And once the identification and determination of the evidences, acquisition and making images are made, it is always advisable to use proper methods for preservation and packing. Mostly it is advised to use the sterile drives and verify the drives or the devices that are used for the making of the acquisitions or the images. And then it is always better to make 2 copies of the images, one for the IO or the investigating officer to verify it, and one for the forensic lab to analyze and do the examination of the digital evidences. And also it is best practice to isolate and make the environment suitable for the preservation, isolate the evidence and make it anti-static environment, so that there is no damage possible either to the originals or to the images that are required. And the packing plays an important role even with the images when they are transported and packed. Always use anti-static bags or Faraday bags and use arson cans sometimes, so that to isolate it from the surrounding environments. And the role of IFO is a very important aspect here in handling the electronic crime scene, protecting it, and more so importantly, to gather the evidence and get the information from the first respondent and ensure that there is no damage to the evidence by disabling if there is any remote access, and things, make a checklist of the things to be done when reaching a crime scene, protect it, and check for any kind of self-destructive programs if the systems are in on-condition, and there should not be any tampering of the evidences, so that the integrity of the material objects is maintained, and always forensically sound procedures to be adopted and follow the SOPs properly at the crime scene, and also maintain dedicated tools and the toolkit to be used, and try to obtain the passwords or any kind of evidences available at the crime scene, and reconstruction of the crime scene and the peripherals should be done. An attempt should be made to reconstruct, and photographs, videographing of the crime scene should be taken as a prerequisite, and investigate using dedicated tools with the preliminary examination could be conducted, analyze, and RAM collection should be done, and also prepare the letter of advice, which is the questionnaire that is important for the nature of examination to be conducted on the digital evidences. Packaging and labeling of these evidences will further enable the easy procedures, and also the transportation to be taken care of, so that to present to the court of law. The skilled personnel should be deployed at the crime scene, and should encourage for a system admin along with the team of witness and the photographers, so that all these aspects of electronic crime scene could be managed, and the very importantly, the date and time stamp or the timings of the system are to be noted, and the last access dates to be maintained and well documented in all the steps that are to be taken during the search and seizure and acquisition and packing of the digital evidences, and the role of the investigation officer. Now, once the evidences are sent for analysis, in detail analysis, the questionnaire to be framed, and accordingly different aspects of the digital evidence, especially with the hard disk or the disk forensics, we look into the volatile and non-volatile data to be considered. And once the hard disk or the secondary devices, storage devices are sent to the lab, there are many aspects that we are looked in, especially cluster analysis, the slack space verifications, and file signature analysis, data carving and registry analysis, database files analysis, the password recovery of many of files, and hidden file analysis, and timeline analysis, different artifacts analysis are the different kind of steps and methods very involved in the recovery and the analysis involved in the disk forensics in particular. So this is a screenshot of one of the very well-versed, or the tool, the EnCase, that we use in the lab for the recovery of the data, which gives us about the different kind of files, their names, and where their locations, and the other filters that can be used and bookmarked using this software. So there are different kinds of forensic tools and softwares available. Both we have the open source tools as well as proprietary tools available in the market, which help us in this recovery and examination and analysis process, wherein the reliability and validation of the tools is also an important aspect, where we have different organizations like NIST and CFTT, which help us in telling us the validation of the tools, where we have standard tools like NCASE, FTK, Axiom, Nuix, Intela, etc., which we use very regularly in the lab for analyzing the digital evidences. Also, we have many free tools available like Autopsy, the ProDiscover, Wireshark, Games, etc., which help us in different analysis process, whether for acquisitions as well as for recovery and for analysis. We have many challenges when we are dealing with the disk forensics. In particular, the anti-forensics are also the challenges that we encounter on everyday basis. Like we have the encryptions, which play a very important role, and the deleted data, the recovery of the data, which is one of the important step of the disk forensics, and also all the digital evidences we thoroughly verify for the deleted data, and the steganography, the hidden data analysis is done, which is challenges in the forensic field, the overwritten data, and the hardware issues also are potential challenges with the SSDs, which play for the garbage as well as the trim kind of scenarios, which help in facing challenges to the forensic examiners. And this also for the investigating officers, wherein the servers are abroad and the records are not really maintained and the logs are not available or sometimes disabled, and more so use of anti-forensic tools and specific softwares play a very high challenge in analyzing the data and getting the relevant particular data in the event. So that was the gist of the digital evidence, more particularly to the disk forensics. Now we will move on to the next part of the segment, which is the mobile forensics, and more so with the mobile device forensics. Now, when we discuss about the mobile phone, the components of the mobile phone can be categorized into three, which is the power section, the radio section, and the computer section, where each of it has its own function to perform on a mobile phone. And more so, we talk about it as a cellular phone because of its hexagonal cell-shaped network that helps in the maximum utilization of the connections. So in the mobile phone, we concentrate mostly with the different areas and parameters, wherein possibility of finding potential evidence is the mobile phone or the phone memory, and the SIM cards, and the SSDs or the memory cards, wherein the data is possibly stored. So the mobile phone has the unique number that is the IMEI number, which helps us to identify the mobile phone or the equipment in particular, and the SIM card, which helps us to connect with the service provider, and all the identification of the mobile instrument in particular. Now, the two basic, largely used technologies that we have is the GSM and CDMA technologies that are very rampant, and more popular is the GSM, where we have a number of mobile phone devices, smartphones connected with the GSM. And of course, the CDMA also plays an important role, and more so supporting with the kind of roaming kind of environment. Whereas in the GSM, we find there is a good high quality with the voice or other file systems. So each of it has its own advantage, but more so popular with the GSM technology that we encounter with number of smartphones and devices that are connected to the network. Now, the challenges that we encounter as we see in the disk forensics, also with the mobile phones, where unlocking of the device, particularly with the passcodes of the iOS or the patterns pins, has been a challenging. Of course, we as we do bypass a number of Android or Windows scenarios, but it has always been the issue. So bypassing passcodes or using Android or Windows kind of environment, we have some tools which are helping through this process, but it is always at the crime scene to verify for the passwords or for any kind of data wherein handheld devices could be possible at the crime scene, and proper scrutiny and scanning of that will always help in the investigation. But this same as in the disk, we also have different SOPs, standardized and methods for even the mobile phone or the mobile forensics, wherein Caesar acquisition, extraction, and analysis plays the three main steps that are involved. As talking with the mobile phones in particular, the Caesar plays a very important role. Whenever the device is in a on condition, it is always better to maintain the charge or maintain the power of the device so that it is not draining, and try to take the pictures whatever are available, and also process for the acquisition should be initiated at that stage, so that for especially with the iOS kind of scenarios, wherein the acquisition, if done at the first instant or at the scene of crime, the maximum possibility of recovering the data is more, the chances are more is to recover maximum data. And then the analysis and the extraction steps are involved. We have a number of tools, and based upon the different OS, the extractions are done at different level. So to maintain, and as in the Caesar, as we said, the Caesar is very prominent. The signal containment should be done, which is the first and foremost step at the Caesar, and the network isolation. So for that, we can use the Faraday bags or anti-static bags or arson tins and all, which help us for the isolation, as well as to maintain the anti-static environment for the digital evidences, more so with the mobile phones devices, and looking for the power and on-off conditions, and taking the photographs, screenshots of the available data will always prove an added advantage in the investigation. Also collecting the cables and accessories that are associated with the mobile phone devices, and all the procedures to be followed in a very forensically sound procedures, and documentation of all this is an important step. Now, the different methods that we use in extraction of the data from the mobile phones is jotted broadly, can be classified into manual extraction, which is the basic or the crude method with looking into the mobile phone and extracting it manually, which is the first method or the primitive method. And then we have the logical and file system extraction, wherein the live data, whichever is available in the phone or the mobile device, could be extracted using these two methods. And then the extraction, and also it's done using the tools which are validated, and then the physical dump, which is the entire bit by bit dump of the data that is available in the mobile device is collected, which gives us the deleted data also, which is more so relevant in the event or the crime that may be involved. And JTAG is another method, which is, and chip off. These are very rarely used, but nevertheless very rampant today. And however, the proper consent and authorization from the court of law is required for performing tip-off and for the micro-read level of extraction of the data from the mobile devices. and potential evidences that could be obtained from the mobile phone devices commonly are the call logs, the contacts, SMS messages, the charts could be a variety of WhatsApp or Viber or any kind of Facebook Messenger chats and all, emails, installed applications, the data that is concerned with the different types of applications that were used in the device, and also when we retrieve or recover the deleted or deleted application data, the cookies, the locations, the GPS data is available, and the images that are stored in the mobile phone device, along with the photo forensics or photo ballistics are also, camera ballistics are also available for today, which will help us to analyze more further into the aspects or the metadata aspects of the camera and the images and audio and video kind of files or multimedia kind of files, and the web history, internet history, or more so with the iOS scenario wherein we see the Safari history and different potential evidences possibly are the snapshots available with the iOS or iCloud usages. The plist analysis is another kind of artifacts and that we could get, and also the e-wallet details, more so with the Apple wallets that are introduced, will help us to gather a lot of information, even with the iOS, wherein we have the airplane airdrop, which are the connected Wi-Fi's, all these details and different artifact informations are the potential evidences that could be useful for the investigation, and that could be useful for the case in that are retrieved from the mobile phone devices. And different tools that we use are both, again, we have some proprietary devices or tool softwares that are helping us to analyze data from different OS or different mobile phones, like Celebrate UFID, Magnet Axiom, XRY, Complete, and Oxygen Forensics, Mobile Edit, and some free tools like Autopsy and all. They help us to analyze, first collect, extract, take the dump bit by bit, and physical analysis, and then further look for different locations where the potential evidence could be found. Here we can see a screenshot of the extraction that we do with the different kind of devices, the mobile phone or SIM card or the mass storage, with the drone extraction or using a UFID camera. Different extractions are possible. And after extraction, it is the analysis of it and how do we link the case with the possible evidence. Here in this slide, you can see that we have retrieved a number of potential data available, passwords, downloads, installed applications, including the deleted, the charts, and the date and timestamps, and all this validated with the hash values and the different aspects of metadata, the camera ballistics, all this incorporated so that to help up with the digital evidence. The importance of the forensic expert documentation, reporting, and the scientific evidence plays a very important role, and try understanding the difference between a technical witness, that is a system admin, to the expert witness, the one who extracts, analyzes, and documents and presents to the court of law. So this kind of clarity and the lucid and non-technical expression of the reports is another important aspect to be taken care, both for the disk as well as for mobile, in fact, for the digital forensics as a whole. And the aspects that are in discussion for today is both for the entire digital forensics is the admissibility, authenticity, reliability of the digital evidence in the court of law. For every step, the proper SOPs to be maintained, and look in for the admissibility of the evidence, which particularly, for example, we talk about the original evidence and the secondary evidence, wherein the scenario wherein the original evidence could not be taken into consideration to be presented, and the admissibility of the secondary evidence with the 65B plays an important aspect to be considered in every case and scenario. And to understand the differences between the electronic signatures and digital signatures, where the CCA is involved, is another aspect to be considered when analyzing the digital evidences. And date and timestamps and metadata are to be cross-checked at every stage and to be extracted and to be presented for the authenticity of the digital evidence, so that the file properties would tell us with the file name, and also give us the fingerprinting of the evidence that are presented in the court of law. But also we have sometimes challenges of where hash values may not match, also given a scenario whenever there is a damaged hard disk and it is recovered, or a damaged phone, or when we do a chip off or JTAG kind of scenarios, it is always to be well documented to and explainable for the variation in the hash values as well. And the security concerns to be taken care, which is playing a very important aspect in all the digital forensics field and in the cybersecurity field, to ensure the usage of the data and proper placing of the data in different devices, especially with the mobile phones. And protecting the mobile from side channel attacks, and also from varied data synchronization and backup of the data. These steps and periodical backups and logs verification, and all this are certain security concerns that are rampant in the present era. And also some kind of suggestions, like it is always better to not to disclose the card numbers, or kind of your privacy issues, and so that it would not be easy accessible for the others. And also verify the emails address and this sender properly, so that kind of authentication and security is maintained. And always two-factor verification, authenticity and encryptions are to be ensured at every stage of the security matters, and the management of the passwords and accounts. And look into special techniques, and using complex and lengthy passwords will also help in this management. And using specialized methods or critical areas of defense mechanisms, or using VPNs also, or some of the methods that could be taken up by the people, so that the security and the management issues can be overtaken. And also will help in the process of protecting the digital evidence. And more so important, the EEE rule, which is very important with the examination of electronic evidence, that is emphasized by the 79A of the IT Act, is very important in perspective of the admissibility of the electronic evidence. So with the given scope, that is the digital forensics and the mobile device forensics for today, I would limit my discussion about the digital forensics to this scope. And thank you, and thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Legal Desire.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for an insightful session. So we'll be taking up some question from our YouTube live chat. So first question is, how to determine fraudulent use of digital signature?
How to determine
fraudulent use of digital signature.
Yeah, for the verification of the digital signatures and whether the authenticity of them, there is a specialized body that would look into it. That is the CCA is the authorized body which look into the digital signatures. And so, what I was discussing about the importance of the or differentiation to be maintained with the electronic signatures to that of the digital signatures, where they would look into the encrypted credentials that are given onto their digital signatures, which is the work of the CCA. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Next question is from Yashwin. What is the validity of an audio file as an evidence?
That of course did not cover into our scope today, but yes, the audio file which is retrieved from a mobile phone device in particular, we talk about the metadata, we talk about the date and time stamps, the hash values, the digital fingerprinting. All these are the validity that this particular audio file was created, that is its source, its file path, and its metadata will help us analyze the authenticate the source and origin of the audio file. But also, if there is any kind of what do you call additions or deletions or that are made to it, is another topic of discussion, which is the voice, what do you call the audio files uh, for editing or part of it, and also with the speaker identification aspects, which are further analyzed.
Yeah,
Yes.
like I will also add that being from law profession, I can say that
Yes.
these audio files
Huh.
comes under in the secondary evidence as per our Indian Evidence Act.
True.
So
Yes.
yeah, so these won't be primary evidence, but they will come as a secondary evidence. All these documentary evidences.
Yes.
Yeah. Second question, another question from Harsha. Which different software to use after image in Tableau?
Tableau is a company which gives a variety of tools that are there, both software and hardware. As I was telling you about the acquisitions, we use Tableau Imager as a software tool and Tableau Bridge, which is a hardware tool. So these kind of tools are used to acquire the image, and again the images are depending upon the kind of scenario, whether mirror image is to be made or a clone is to be made, or our forensic image is to be made, that means our favorite E01 or DD or raw image, depends upon the kind of scenario and the exact which is ideal to that particular scenario. Such kind of images could be done using Tableau, and many tools are available in the market.
We'll take two more questions. One question
Yes.
is, can reversible data hiding in encrypted images be carried out in digital forensics?
Yes, definitely. That's what we were discussing about the steganography and all, wherein the data hiding techniques and there are tools which will help us to analyze what kind of hiding or other imbibed data is present in the files, which per se look like another file.
Yeah. So we'll take last question. If we use an full language on any social media platform, is it comes under cybercrime? If yes, then how to lodge a complaint or proceed against the person who use such language?
Yes, if anybody is using foul language, objectionable, defaming, it does come under cybercrime, and we can always take a screenshot of that or the evidence that you being having in hand, and can approach the cybercrime police. They will always help you to lodge a complaint. You can go and register a complaint and produce the whatever document you have that you have taken screenshot, and will help you in the process of investigation.
Yes, thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Over to Ananya.
Thank you, ma'am, for your insightful session to make us familiar with various cybercrime, digital evidences, digital forensic, and mobile forensics, and their various challenges faced during the collection and examination of these digital evidences. And also, you explained about the various sections of IT Act. Your practical expertise has helped us to gain knowledge about the subject of the session. Thank you for taking out your valuable time and joining us. Thank you, ma'am. Now will be now it is a
Thank
request to all. It is a request to all the viewers to the subscribe to our YouTube channel, that is Public and Policy TV, and press the bell icon to receive real-time notification when we go live for our next session or upload a new video. The viewers also can visit www.publicandpolicy.com, which gives real-time Government of India, President, Secretariats, Prime Minister's Office, Ministerial, State Government, and Parliamentary updates. And in case if you have any doubts or queries, you can mail us at office@legaldesire.com. Thank you all for joining us. Stay safe and take care. Thank you.